Hi, my name is George Ladden. I'm here to talk to you tonight about building your own home. It is completely possible for any average, reasonably fit adult to build their own home. How do I know this? Because I have recently built my own home from start to finish. It was my wife and I's idea, and to be honest with you, I'm not sure that I would have jumped in feet first the way I did if it wasn't for my wife, but I thank God for that because our end results are a beautiful home and a lot cheaper than hiring a contractor. My first step that I recommend anyone that's going to build their own home do is find out who their local building official is, if there is one in the area, and find out if you have to have a licensed building contractor to build the home that you're trying to build. Some areas, if you exceed a certain amount of square footage, you have to have a licensed contractor. Some areas, if you exceed the amount of stories, like if you want to build a 2 story instead of a 1 story or a 3 story, they might have, if you go over a certain amount, you have to have a licensed contractor. In my area, they go by the square footage. You can build 2 to 3 stories if you want. You just can't go over the square footage that they require for a licensed contractor to build. If you get into the building process and you're worried about not having the tools that you need to get the jobs done, because each individual jobs a lot of time require different tools for you to get the job done, hey, guess what? What better time to buy the tools for yourself that you've always wanted? I promise you, by buying the tools, it is cheaper than hiring a contractor or a subcontractor to complete the step in the phase. Because when you hire a subcontractor or a contractor, a lot of times, even in their price, they add in the amount of money that it costs for them to buy or maintain that tool that they need to get the job done. So you're getting the same job with the same tool for the price and less than what they're charging you for labor and materials. So in my opinion, it's a win-win situation with your tools. Another thing is you get to keep the tools for any other projects that you want to do, any other things that come up where you might need it. And if you decide that it's a special project that you had to buy the tool for, that you'll never use the tool again for, guess what? Our generation, with all these websites where you can sell and buy things, put the tool on there, and for the most part, as long as it's a reasonably new tool, which you know it is because you only bought it for one job, you can make almost all your money back on the tool. It's a it's a win-win situation. The the supplies that you need for building a house, um, there are supply houses out there now for everything. There's supply houses out there for concrete. There's supply houses out there for lumber and building material. There's supply houses out there for electrical. There's supply houses out there for HVAC. There's supply houses out there for plumbing. Anything you need, there's supply houses out there for it. And one of the unfortunate but good things about our economy right now, all of these supply houses that are out there are looking for business, hunting for, fighting for, competing against each other to get your business. So they have salesmen that pretty much do your job for you. You take them a copy of your plans, and they do their own takeoff and tell you everything that you need for every step of the process in building your own home. They each have their own thing that they look at, but what you do is you go to them and ask them for a quote and tell them that they are not the only supply house that you are dealing with and getting a quote from, because if they think they're the only place that is giving you a quote, they could possibly mark up the price or add in things you don't really need. Once you get started on the work, they also help you. They remind you when you need certain things at certain times. That way, they don't just ship the whole thing out there at once and it's sitting on the ground. They'll call you and say, "Hey, George, how are you doing in your process? You made it this far. I think it's time that you need me to send your fiberglass tubs out to you to have them mounted before you sheetrock the walls." So it's a great thing that they need the business bad enough to where they keep the relationship between you to where they'll help you along the way. Another thing, whenever you get started on something and you run into a problem in a different phase, all the different phases of construction on building your house, our generation with this DIY, do it yourself stuff going on right now, the website, any questions you have all the access to the information that you needed. They'll all have websites that will answer your questions. And if you need somebody to give you step by step and show you, if you're a visual person, to get through a step, there's all kind of licensed contractors, people that have been there before you, that have made videos online that you can watch, and it'll take you step by step and show you what you need to do. It's great. YouTube is my best friend. I have learned how to do so many different things off of YouTube that it's unreal. From working on cars to building a house to working on my dryer in the house, man, it's crazy. Anything and everything you want, you can find on YouTube. While you're going through the process of building your house, remember that every step in the process is equally as important as the next or the first. If you don't build a good, square, level, strong foundation, then it's going to make it hard on you to build and frame the walls. If you don't do a good job of framing the walls, making them plumb, making them square, it makes it harder on putting the sheathing on the house, outside and inside. If you do not do a good job of putting the sheathing on the house, it makes the trim work on the inside and the outside harder on you. And if the trim work doesn't look good, then it makes the paint look bad. And if the paint doesn't look good, everybody knows that paint and trim is what make a house look good. So you need to make sure that you take every step and treat it as it's equally as important as the next. And when you get through with this process, I promise you'll be able to stand back and say, I built that. I did that. I can pass that down to my kids and give them something to remember me by. It is a great process, and I recommend anybody who has any desire to build their own home to look into doing it yourself.